because I would love to explore that, but perhaps we'll leave that to questions if anyone wants to take it up, and I'll take Roger back to some more aspects of the land itself. When I was in Israel not that long ago, I went to Caesarea, which is a nature reserve, one of many parks and reserves in Israel, and you get a map, which is the map of Israel and Palestine, undivided, which shows a whole series of nature reserves in the West Bank. And I want to ask Roger to comment on these reserves, what they're reserves for, and how they came about. Roger.
This was a rather sad thing, because as I was following these military orders, I came upon military orders that created nature reserves, and there were regulations about what can be done, what cannot be done to preserve the nature and so on. And I thought, you know, Israeli occupation is bad, but it has some good things, and this is certainly one of the good things, because what better way to preserve nature and to allocate areas that cannot be built and so on. And so I was glad about this, and then this original military order 554 was amended so many times to add to more regulation. I thought really these Israelis are very serious about nature, they are doing something good. Then, of course, it turned out that all these nature reserves are in Area C, and they create another military order whereby entry into Area C without the permission of the military is illegal. So it turns out that all the walks we take, which are of course in Area C, because that's the largest area of the West Bank, in fact we are breaking the law. And in one of the walks with Mustafa Barghouti, in the fifth walk, I am conscious of the fact that we are in Area C, of course, in a nature reserve, but it's now restricted to Israelis. And I decide not to tell him of this fact, not to make him more nervous. Sometimes knowledge is not all that good. But strictly speaking, if we are apprehended and they said, where is your permit? We would be breaking the law and so on. At the same time, it turns out that the Israelis, there was a B'Tselem report about the Israeli settlers who again claim to love the land, building in the nature reserve, contrary to all these wonderful military orders that are supposedly for the preservation of nature, and the Israeli authorities not raising a hand to stop them.
Right, I want to move on and ask you to comment briefly, because I know you're reluctant to take this one on, about the role of religion in the Holy Land. I mean, this after all is what one would at a certain level expect to be able to defuse the conflict and bring peace among peoples and so on. I know your experience is different, and I hope this will give you an opportunity to read a brief passage from your book, which otherwise I'll read later.
Well, you know, to turn you off religion, the best place to be is in the Holy Land. All religions, terrible. I mean, so I'm turned off religion entirely by being in the Holy Land. And I have a small passage that I can read, which maybe is better than my going on rambling away. Again, I will stand up. This is from Walk 4 in Wadi Kelt, which is a wonderful area that is also a nature reserve, and it's unusual because it has 3 springs and very serious springs, so the water continues for much longer than elsewhere. And now the area has settlements all around it, so it's also changed, but the walk in the wadi is still possible. So we're in the walk, and just as we were leaving one area, I looked up the rock wall below which we had been sitting, and saw a young woman with long Orthodox dress and headscarf standing reverently. Her face was turned westward. She had a calm, pious expression. She was praying. I could not tell if she was an Israeli Jew or a newly arrived immigrant. in my many expeditions in different parts of the country, I had never seen anyone praying, though I often thought of my walks in nature as a form of meditation. Oddly, it was a flattering sight. Here was someone who appreciated my land so much that she was inspired to give thanks to her God in prayer. And yet I could not help being suspicious of her motives. What was the nature of her supplication? Was she giving thanks to the Almighty for the glory of His creation, or for His support of the Israeli army in the conquest and occupation of my land, making it possible for her to settle in Elmon, the settlement, by the side of the spectacular spring? Religious practice in the land of the Bible tends to encourage exclusivity and discrimination rather than love and magnanimity. There is no place like the Holy Land to make one cynical about religion. I want to say another experience I had, which is on the same lines. I went, it was actually rather recently, down in the area which is described in Walk 6, and I was careful because I didn't want any confrontation with settlers who have increased in large number in that area. There are now 12 settlements when there was only one in 1979, and all these new settlements are on private land, interestingly enough. And so I tried very hard to avoid any of these settlements, and it was a lovely walk. We started early in the morning, and we got to the village of Ain Kimia, which is in the Wadi. And just as we got there, we found an Israeli car with two people, one Orthodox Jew and another a little older than the young man. And when we approached, they said, who are you, and then where do you come from? They thought we were settlers who had lost our way. So to give them, to make them comfortable, I said, no, we're from Ramallah, and it's just up there, and we come. And then they said, what are you doing here? Walking. Let me see your identification card. And I said, at first I was taken aback, and then he said, I want to call the army. So I said, who are you? And what are you doing here? And he said, unlike you, and I'm quoting him, he said, unlike you, I live here. I really live here. And that's religion.